Welcome to All Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton. It's time to talk offensive grades, and the scorecard, Gerry, probably not going to be pretty as we talk about this one. Look at those eyes popping out of your head there, Gerry. Longhorns managing only 15 points on Saturday night. But I tell you, the thing that I am still grappling with this morning as we tape this, it's not just the fact that Texas did not score much. It's that it never looked like the offense got on track. Even when they scored 2 touchdowns in the second half, it just looked like they were piecing it together and hitting on a couple plays here and there. Nothing ultra consistent, including, I mean, you got to be honest, one of those touchdowns was a 9-yard drive after the interception return by Jahdae Barron. So wasn't like the Longhorns necessarily earned that second touchdown. So let's get going and start off with where we're at on Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, the quarterback grade. 25 of 43 for Quinn for 211, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and then also 2 fumbles. The problem I have here, Gerry, is not even the stat line. The stat line is not the worst we've seen from Quinn in the history. What was evident when you watched the actual game, Gerry, was his indecisiveness, his slow-footedness, his inability to really think ahead in the pocket and move up in the pocket or escape in a bright way. It was, you said this was Quinn's worst game in 2 years last week against Oklahoma. He surpassed that on Saturday night. It was horrible from Quinn Ewers. No questions asked. Yes, he was under duress, but man, you got to be better than that if you're going to win big games in the SEC.
Yeah, I thought about the way I was going to open this show, and the best thing I could come up with was we needed Bevo's shovel and take turns handing that thing off, cleaning up what we saw offensively Saturday night. We need the Bevo pooper scooper for this one. And with Quinn, look, my issue when a quarterback is struggling is, do you make any plays for your team? And he didn't make plays for his team last night. Like, I mean, look, you have to have your feet better start having some urgency about them. I'm not seeing urgency with the feet. There's a difference between being calm, cool, and collected in a pocket, but your feet have to have urgency at the same time to play this position.
Gerry, I saw urgency. I just saw it in the wrong direction. He looked gun shy. He looked scared at times. He literally was, I don't know if he's avoiding contact, but he's still not stepping into throws when there's space in the pocket to do so. He's like short stepping, and even some of the big plays, like the throw to Matthew Golden down the field, that was 10 to 15 yards behind Matthew Golden if he would have hit him in stride.
Yeah. You can't look unless you have Brett Favre's arm or Dan Marino's arm. You can't play this game off your back foot.
Or Pat Mahomes, and he's not Pat Mahomes' arm.
You can't play this at a high level, this position, against high-level athletes. You can't do it off your back foot unless you have magic in your right arm or you're just a playmaker on the move. That's the only – and the thing that was bad last night for Quinn, and I am giving him an F, is – we got to be real about this.
Oh, no, I'm giving the whole quarterback position an F. It's not just Quinn, but yeah.
Right. But, look, he didn't help his offensive line last night against high-level athletes. An entire front – all those guys are going to be drafted or on NFL training camps, even if they're not drafted. Every single guy that played last night will be drafted or on an NFL roster, more than likely, or in a training camp. You have to help your offense. You have to be willing to help your offensive line in a game like that. And I didn't see a quarterback that was willing to help his offensive line and stand in the fire and step up, even if it meant you were going to get clocked, to help your right tackle or your left tackle, who had multiple high draft picks coming after them all night. And it wasn't just D linemen, it was linebackers. It was the way they were disguising it. It's Jalen Walker, who's a great player off the edge, probably going to be a Pro Bowl player. Where did he help his guys?
Well, I recall the people are saying, what do you mean by stepping up or That couldn't have been the only thing that was wrong. Here's what happens when you don't step up. Your offensive tackles have to start retreating further back and cover more ground. So all of a sudden, that outside move, like I go back to that play in the second quarter where Quinn gets caught on the goal line, Jerry, and is just tripped up by an arm that's on the ground because he didn't step up, half a second earlier. That was an outside rush. Kelvin Banks actually took care of his guy and took him to the ground.
Yeah, what you're saying, if you don't step up in the pocket, you don't make an edge rusher redirect.
Yeah, or it makes your offensive line set deeper, and now the inside go is more open for that.
Because an offensive tackle is taught to take the man outside. Yes. If a guy starts getting leverage on you, you take that guy outside. And if you don't step up even a half step, then the offensive line, sometimes the tackle did his job.
Yes.
Like he was coached to do.
Yep.
Take the guy up the field because your quarterback's going to step up into the pocket.
Yeah,
if that doesn't happen, eventually a tackle loses his leverage because he's already done the job he was supposed to do.
I want to say this also, Archman, and we don't need to belabor Quinn too much because, look, at least he came back a little bit, had a good third quarter before kind of retreating in that fourth quarter back to what we saw a lot in the first and second quarter. Arch Manning came in for 2 series in the second quarter, 3 of 6 for 19 yards. I would add he had a 21-yard run. But even then, listen to this. He had -1 yards rushing, even with a 21-yard run because he was sacked 3 times.
Yeah.
So put that out there and think about it a little bit for the Longhorns. An F at the position. Maybe some of that grade goes on the coaches as well, and not having a game plan necessarily ready, or Quinn or Arch ready for more hot reads. I think that's fair. But the position overall right now, not looking good 2 weeks in a row for the Longhorns. Let's move on to running back, Jerry, if you don't mind. Trey Weiser did get the start, 15 carries for 52 yards, had 3.5 yards a carry. He caught 5 balls out of the backfield. But listen to this, talking about a team that was on top of the quick game to the running backs, or the dump downs to the running backs. Wisner had 5 catches, 5, for a grand total of 11 yards. That is crazy. 2 yards a catch. That's indicative of a team that was really ready for that. Jaden Blue got 7 receptions for 48 yards. The 2-back offense that Texas deployed actually looked like it had gained some steam for them in the third quarter. But when you're down by 23 points at halftime, you got to make up time quicker than that. Overall, I actually thought that they ran fine and they were contributed in the receiving game. I thought the big issue with the running backs on Saturday night was their pass protection. Mediocre at best for Trey Wisner. He is clearly not as good or as intuitive even as Jaden Blue in pass protection right now. Blue actually went in there and stuck his nose in there. Not that Wisner didn't stick his nose in there too. I just think that Wisner is more likely to try to chip somebody instead of trying to take someone on up the middle. What did you think of the running back and the run game, I guess, as well for the Longhorns?
I thought Trey Weiser was pretty good in the run game, actually.
Yeah,
and I did the offensive line, because the offensive line actually did some pretty good things in the run game. Look, we talked about this is the first real game this year where you miss Cedric Baxter. The bigger back that can take on a bigger, more athletic defensive front seven for Georgia. You missed that in the run game for sure last night. I thought Trey Wisner ran pretty effectively against what will be the best front seven Texas plays this year against the run. Against the run, it will be the best that Texas plays. It doesn't mean somebody won't catch them and execute, and Deion Walker has a big game or something. But this was the most talented front seven, interior, edge, linebackers that Texas will play this season on the schedule. Not even close. A&M has a good front. They don't have those linebackers. So in the passing game was interesting because, look, what Georgia had was their linebackers can play inside out fast and close angles. really close angles. The other thing that was interesting about the running backs, and I'm going to give the running backs overall. Look, you talked about that. I got to go. I'm going C+ because Trey had the drop. Trey
Yeah.
Wise had the drop.
Yeah, I
And
bet he's kicking.
that was a big play and a big lack momentum play early in that game. And that's a catch that he makes 9 out of 10 times, right?
Yeah. I bet he's kicking himself.
Because that's a 25-yard gain or a touchdown on that play.
C+ is fair. C+ is fair. I gave him a C because it's not. I want to say this. It's not. I love Trey Weiser, by the way.
I'll do too.
And I love his running style.
Yep.
It's not the lack of effort there from those guys. It's just I don't think they pass protected nearly well enough from all the variety of blitzes they saw from Georgia. And I think Georgia took a little bit of advantage of not only Wisner's youth, but also Blue in that regard, because these guys are first-year starters at that level and playing that many snaps. So I felt like that was the case. I will say this. I hope Trey Wisner's okay. He went to the medical tent, into the medical tent, and then inside the actual facility before the end of the game. We think it's a shoulder. We'll see what happens there, but that would be a tough loss because that makes Jaden Blue really RB1 with any experience, and Jarrett Gibson did not play on Saturday night. I went C. Jerry, you went C+. I can see either way. Wide receivers a little bit different. I'm not sure they were open as much as we'd like to see them be open. Ryan Wingo certainly was on a couple of passes. Matthew Golden adjusted and made it a nice catch, was open a couple of times. Isaiah Bond scored the touchdown. Golden also drew the interference penalty that was legitimate, as did Wingo down the field on his. I went B- on wide receivers because I actually thought they also blocked well in the run game. They just didn't get the ball thrown to them enough. I mean, Quinn was either running for his life or seeing ghosts. Yeah. And that's not a good look for the Longhorns.
Yeah, I go B- because it's hard. I almost go incomplete, but you got to give it a grade. So B- because, look, there were guys open at some point, and a quarterback's not going to see everybody and hit everybody. I think there's like quarterbacks held to a perfection standard nobody else is in the sport, which is always wild to me, right? Because what if a 6'5" D lineman's hands up and he can't see the wide receiver running right open, and you watch a game, say the guy was wide open. Well, that doesn't mean the quarterback can see the guy. I mean, you could have a 6'5" guy with long arms in front of you. You actually can't see the guy in your vision. So I have a feeling there were wide receivers that were open in this game. And whether that was the duress that Quinn was under, whether that was Quinn not playing well at all in the pocket and giving those guys a chance, or if it was just inaccuracies and sometimes good scheme, because they dropped 7 and 8 in coverage a lot. Georgia pretty much said, all right, you're not going to beat us deep, because we in Mississippi State beat us deep last week. We're not going to get beat deep. We're going to bring our big boys at you. We're going to see if you can block them. And if you can, maybe you hit us on a few in the intermediate game. But, so I think guys were open, but I'm not sure guys were running free in this game without watching an end zone cut of the tape. So I'm going B- because what we saw, that's the grade I have to give them.
All right, going to do tight ends and then offensive line next. But first, we want to say thank you to our friends over at Allegiant Digital Marketing. If you're looking for ways to grow your business, save up to $2,500 in advertising by visiting www.allegiantdigital.com/ontexasfootball with Allegiant Digital Marketing today. Take advantage of their Hook 'em Horn special and save up to $2,500. Visit allegiantdigital.com/ontexasfootball to learn more. Owner and CEO Chad Markham is a UT grad and instructor of the Digital Marketing Boot Camp at UT Austin. He's helped thousands of businesses overcome their challenges to get and reach out to new folks. Again, that is allegiantdigital.com/ontexasfootball. Jerry, tight ends, Gunnar Helm led the team in receiving six catches, 62 yards, including another. He looked like he's rebounding on the inside on that one pass. He also made a nifty move on a Georgia defender Juan Davis added 2 receptions for 9 yards. But, even when Texas kept those 2 guys in to block against Georgia, they were getting beaten. Gunnar Helm in particular got beat a couple times. What are we thinking right now about this grade for the tight ends? Helm, again, a bright spot, even with the issues in pass protection, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I go B minus for this group because I do think, look, and it's a tough ask if you bring Gunnar Helm in motion, all right, and say you're one-on-one with Michael Williams or Jalen Wilson, or good luck, Jalen Walker. Good luck. I'm not sure how many tight ends actually win that battle. That's a pass catcher first, right? But I think I go B minus, and I do say this was actually really, no matter how well the blocking went as far as how you grade Gunnar out, this was a good game for him for NFL scouts once again, because he made athletic plays against a bunch of NFL players on defense in the secondary and at linebacker.
I could not agree more. He made a really nice play along that right sideline. Really did. All right. I'm fine with a B minus. I had penciled in a B just for the record, because I thought there was some the Helm play was kind of the highlight of the offense, frankly. If the low light of the offense was not the quarterback play, then it most certainly would be the offensive line unit. They did not look good, whether that's in pass protection or I felt like the offensive line was overwhelmed by the Georgia defensive front. Kelvin Banks got beat once at least. Cam Williams, Jerry, really showed his inexperience probably for the first time. Georgia was the group that could get after him.
Yeah, and DJ Campbell struggled. I mean, it was a look. Michigan has their 2 guys, and we talked about this on the interior, that are really good players and are going to be drafted high. Georgia has the biggest group of athletes on the defensive front that Texas will see this year. And they come at you, and they didn't play a lot of numbers. I don't think Jordan Hall even got in the game coming off the injury. But the numbers of guys they did play, Ingram Dawkins, athlete. Michael Williams, athlete. Brinson and Stackhouse are more point of attack guys. But, Christian Miller, athlete at 320. This was a different group. Oklahoma has some good pass rushers, but this was a different level of athleticism, size, athleticism, combination, and physicality on contact. I thought Georgia took the physicality to Texas up front. And it looked like a team that Kirby challenged their manhood all week, is what happened, and challenged these guys to say, you know what, if you're as good as we think you are, you're going to walk into that stadium and you're going to be the most physical team in America Saturday night. And I thought they out-athleted and out-physical Texas up front, honestly.
Yeah, none of that pass rush. I will say this, very little. There was 1 or 2 times where Jake Majors and or Hayden Connor got beat. I think DJ Campbell got beat once on the inside. But their pass rush, to your point, was really from the outside.
Yep.
And that's why the lack of stepping up into the pocket with Quinn was such a big deal to me. And
that's why it's hard for me. And I do think Texas offensive line in the run game did some good things against,
especially in the second half when they got it going, and by establishing that run, they at least slowed down the Georgia pass rush a little bit. If Steve Sarkisian had something to do over in this game, it might be trying to establish the run more in the first half.
Yeah, and it's tough for me because, look, the box score forever will say Texas gave up the most sacks, 7, by a number 1 ranked team in 20 years, I think is the stat. And that's what the box score will forever say from this game. But I'm not sure the offensive line was the reason they gave up all of those sacks. And now they didn't play at a high enough level. And that was my thing going in this game. Texas had to play really well in the offensive line because you knew what Georgia had in their front 7, not just the front defensive front, but the linebackers. Jalen Walker's a hellacious football player. And Smile Mondon didn't even play, by the way, an all-SEC linebacker. Didn't even play in the game. And Michael Williams is not 100%. He's still limping around out there. So Texas didn't even get Georgia's best. And they got it taken to him. And so I'm going to go, I'm in between D+ and C-. I'm going to go C-, Bobby, because I don't think all the sacks were on them. And I do think they opened up some things in the run game.
I'm going D.
I know. I just don't think the quarterback helped him at all.
Yeah, he did not. I came close to giving him an F, actually.
I know.
Because they had so many quarterback hurries. And you're right. I think of the 7 sacks, 3 were on a tight end or a running back in some fashion, or a blitz off the edge that the numbers just didn't account for and the quarterback didn't see. But look, you mentioned it. We talked all week that they needed to keep Quinn Ewers clean. A couple things happened. Quinn Ewers didn't help himself.
No.
And the offensive line did not keep him clean early.
Yeah.
In particular, and built up a big lead. And then once you become one-dimensional against Georgia, good luck, bud. Because they got guys that can come get after the quarterback.
If all you have is the short passing game, they have too much speed. They're going to close it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Look, bad performance for the Texas offense. There's no reason to sit here and, rue over it, I guess. But overall, on the offense, D-. What do you think about that? Because it was horrible. They looked, for 3 of the 4 quarters, they looked really bad to me.
Yeah.
I thought they looked bad in the 4th quarter when they literally were having so many problems protecting that they brought in Juan Davis and ran 2 tight ends and ran fewer guys into routes so that they could protect the quarterback long enough to throw it, because the quarterback wasn't getting the hot reads out or wasn't getting it done. So what do you think? What do you think overall? Because 15 points in one of those scores starting from the opponent's 9-yard line, that's not a winning football game right there.
No. So F- for me.
Oh, okay.
Because, and here's why. Carson Beck did not play well. You had 3 turnovers at home. You had 3 turnovers at home game. You turned around and had 5 or 4. 4. So you had 4 turnovers. Like you said, one drive was from the 9 after one of the craziest sequence of events as you'll see in college sports. But this is a sum of the parts. You didn't win the game physically. You didn't win the game athletically. You didn't win the game from an execution standpoint. You didn't have really any counters when they took away your bread and butter. And this was all a home game. And a game that you're up for.
I think they're up for it. They didn't play necessarily like they were up for it on offense.
I think this team was confident going in and was jacked up for the game. I think they got it taken to them, is what I think. And look, you can't, in college football today, if you're playing at home, and take away being gifted one at the 9-yard line. Good play by Barron. So your team made a good play. It's not like Beck just threw horrible. Well, that's another story. So one of your drives is from the 9. In college football, if you have a game and you score under 10 points at home against an opponent and you turn it over 4 times, I have to give you an F- because you aren't beating anybody in that scenario.
Bad football. On the offensive side of the ball. We'll see what that means and if the Longhorns can rebound next week against Vandy.
And I wanted to add, you had bad false start penalty. You didn't help yourself. You didn't take advantage of short field opportunities. You passed again on a field goal attempt when points are crucial against really good teams. I don't know where to go with that other than F-.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. That's going to do it for the offensive grades from myself, as well as Gerry Hamilton. Appreciate, again, Allegiant Digital Marketing. Give them a shout if you're interested in building up your business in and around the country or in the state of Texas in particular. Again, Allegiant Digital Marketing, youtube.com/ontexasfootball. All right, for Gerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. This has been the offensive grades. And no matter what the outcome of the game is, hook them, dude.